instilled. Now, what is or what was Gurukul education? It dates back to perhaps the Vedic period and thereafter, where students lived with their teacher in an ashram or a forest hermitage. So it was a distance and in-person university, huge ones, which were run by one particular teacher, Rishi, sage. Now, education encompassed Vedic learning, including mathematics, astronomy, medicine, arts, and physical training. Emphasis was placed on discipline, humility, respect, self-reliance, and service to society, or the Seva Bhav. Students participated in daily chores around the Gurukul, including cooking, cleaning, gathering firewood. So, maintenance, upkeep, this inherent aspect of Swachhata was instilled in them. Guru to Shishya, guidance was provided not just in academics but also in moral and spiritual growth. It was based on oral tradition or Shruti, including memorization, recitation, and discussion, strengthening critical thinking. The word Upanishad, come sit here and listen, started from this practice itself. Now, another aspect for a cultural revival that Mohan Bhagwat raised was the learning of Sanskrit. He said, and I quote, "I am not in favor of making Sanskrit compulsory, but it is important to understand the country. And if you want to understand your tradition and know Bharat, knowledge of Sanskrit is very important. We shouldn't rely on translations as many have errors. In order to access the original sources, learning Sanskrit is necessary." Now, why is the impetus on Sanskrit? The RSS views Sanskrit as the living link to Bharat's ancient civilization, the actual roots of our nation. The RSS believes Sanskrit acts as a unifying linguistic thread. It also sees Sanskrit as a language of Hindu Dharma and the medium of Vedic knowledge, more importantly, even leading towards Vedanta, the Bhagavad, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and also the Bhagavatam. The RSS emphasizes that Sanskrit can rejuvenate Bharatiya arts, literature, and rituals. It sees it as a medium of cohesive cultural nationalism against Western dominance and highlights Sanskrit as a precise language with a potential in computational sciences. Mind you, the original first machine language based itself on Sanskrit because it is the most scientific language, the one that works most with this computer, that's the human brain. Now, it is a very holistic view to reimagine our education system and cultural standing on a global stage. But what are the challenges and opportunities associated with this? Can the politics be set aside to understand the intrinsic value of the issues to bolster Bharat, to not just create a Vikasit Bharat, but also a Bharat that is linked and connected to its ancient roots? Let's try and decode that further with very, very intelligent minds who are joining us on this very special broadcast. And I thank all of them right at the outset. Viewers, Professor P.R. Mukund, Professor Emeritus, Rochester Institute of Technology. He's joining us from the US of A. Dr. Anuradha Chaudhary, Coordinator, Indian Knowledge Systems, Division of the Ministry of Education and Faculty at IIT Kharagpur. She's also a Sanskrit Vidwan. So, Panditanuji, namaste. We have Dushyant Sridhar, Vedic scholar, and he needs no introduction. He's a regular. He's also produced a movie not so long ago, all in Sanskritam. It was Kalidasa Shakuntalam, and he's somebody who's taking Bharatiya Samprada and culture across the whole world, talking about it. And we have Ratan Shardaji, needs again no introduction, RSS thinker and author, and who's very strongly articulated and also advocated the need for Bharat to find its roots. Let's start with Gurugalu. Professor P.R. Mukund, your thoughts. Do you agree with Mohan Bhagwat when he says that we need to go back to Sanskrit and also instill this Gurukul style of education into our modern education system?
Thank you for inviting me, and my pranams to your other panelists. I totally agree, and actually I would like to share with you very briefly something that actually worked for me. As you know, I used to be an engineering professor for many decades, and in the university where I used to teach in the US, in 2003, we started like a Gurukul, and the way it was done was that we had an interfaith chapel, so we'd meet every Friday at 4 o'clock, and we would discuss our philosophy, and not just philosophy, but how to apply it to their daily lives, because their interest, the young people were actually interested in making a good career, living good lives, and being successful, and so on. I've been doing this for 22 years now, and I can tell you there are hundreds of my shishyas all over the place, and it actually works to the extent that many of these people have actually completely changed their lifestyle, and they're actually part of the trust that we run.
Professor P.R. Mukund, viewers, has also worked hard, toiled hard over the last 18 years to translate more than 3,000 manuscripts from very, very dilapidated condition to try and preserve them so that they last for the next 500 years. One of that is also Madhvacharya's work, which he's worked very hard, and he's got a beautiful library in Udupi. So his contribution is immense towards preserving our ancient text and scriptures. So, Professor Saab, I'll come back to you after we get opening comments from our other speakers also. Professor Anuradha Chaudhary, she's been working very hard integrating ancient knowledge systems and ancient knowledge which is there, which is lost, which we are not reading, back into our educational system, and working tirelessly over the last 3-4 years along with the Ministry of Education, under the Ministry of Education. So, Panditanuji, your thoughts?
Yes. So, I would like to say that first of all, thank you for this opportunity. And I myself have grown up in a modern Gurukula at the Sri Aurobindo Ashram in Pondicherry. So what we need to really think about doing is to bring back the spirit of education which has got lost in today's world. So in that context, for example, in Sanskrit, when we have a verb, the verb has two parts. So every verb has a fruit and it has a process. So when we talk of educate today, the very verb educate results in job-getting products. And therefore, the entire system is catering to arriving at that result. But the original idea, which was the idea of the Gurukula education, is that you have to create a human being whose two aspects are well developed. So there has to be the para part of it, which means the human instrument itself has to be well developed and capable of living a meaningful life and integrating in a manner in society that they're contributing for the betterment of society. And the other part was the apara vidya, where they had to be familiar with the knowledge of the external world, so that whatever they produce is of a certain degree of excellence. So what has happened today is, because of our overemphasis on just getting jobs, the human entity or the human quality has got compromised. And since the human quality has got compromised, the way in which society is nothing but a collective of units, of individual units. So the more we have people who are not of a very, complete quality in terms of their efficacy in managing themselves and their role in society, we are going to see problems that are only going to get amplified over time. As we see in many top institutes where, people are facing several kinds of mental challenges as well. So what is required is to go back to the spirit of education, which is what I think Mohanji was really referring to. It's not necessarily replicating the Gurukula as such in the forest environment, but replicating the very philosophy of education, which was about promoting an integral human being. And where does Sanskrit play a role? Sanskrit was the language which, or rather, if I can say it like that every language formats human nature. It formats the way we think and look at the world. So if you're talking of creating Bharata again, then we have to do it in languages which are in tune with the spirit of Bharata. We cannot afford, or we cannot imagine that we will come up with the spirit of Bharata by using a foreign language to help us reach there. So Sanskrit will play a vital role just because of the very nature of the language and the worldview that are enshrined in its words. So I think I will stop here, but what I would just like to conclude is that what I have understood from Mohanji's invitation to the country is not about a backward-looking action or a movement, but an action which is looking forward, which says that we have kept the shell of the education system. We need to revive the spirit of Bharata in our education system, which was in the way we related to each other through the Gurukula system. And one language that played a key role in that was Sanskrit. Right. And if Sanskrit is nourished, then all the other regional languages automatically are nourished and they are enhanced.
South of the Vindhyas, certain states and certain political entities don't agree that way, Professor Anuradha Chaudhary. Dushanji will know more about it. So, Dushanji.
Namaskaram, Anand.
Namaskaram.
Happy to see you after a hiatus, and very happy to be a part amongst this eminent panel. To the viewers of News 18, very quickly, happiness, bliss is Ananda. Nara Simha is the avatar of Bhagavan that has both Nara and Simha. Mukunda is the one who gives moksham. Ratna is the resplendent gem which becomes Ratan. Anuradha is the nakshatram. Dushyanta, all the names of the panelists here and the anchor is in Sanskritam. So, see, the beauty is even people, since you spoke about Tamil Nadu, people famously or infamously who have been opposing Sanskritam, their names are in Sanskritam. So, beginning with the names, beginning with the metros, the cities, all of it is in Sanskritam. I would fortunately and unfortunately, all our scriptures that we have respected, be it the Ramayanam, Sri Mahabharatam, the Puranas, the Upangas, they are all in Sanskritam. You take literature, Kalidasa, Magha, Sriharsha, Bhasa, Prabarasena, Kumaradasa, all of them is in Sanskritam. Take for astronomy and astrology and some of the Madhava series that came up till the 13th and the 14th century from the Sangama Grammar School, all of the formulae is in Sanskritam. So how can you understand the roots of the Vedic, the Bharatiya civilization without even respecting the language? Forget knowing the language. And let's take, for example, even the inscriptions. See, we are speaking in 2025, Anand. Exactly 1,000 years back, we have an inscription from a place called Yennayiram in Tamil Nadu. So this place was, it's a small village even till date. And that place housed a Gurukula, a Patishala, where the inscription in Sanskritam states that it was patronized and funded by Rajaraja Chola with 340 students, and what was the menu in the morning for breakfast and what was given in the lunch, what was served in the dinner is all in Sanskritam. So in Tamil Nadu, 1,000 years back, what was the menu table looking like is in Sanskritam. So my point is, learning Sanskritam has 2-3 benefits. One, see, we saw the recent controversies over language, which language came from what. There were a lot of controversies. Tamil is proudly owned by Tamil Nadu. Kannada is proudly owned by Karnataka. Sanskritam is owned by no one. So everybody can adopt it. See, when there is a language meant for a state, when Sanskritam, such a rich civilization, is up stating that take me, all of us can take her. So that is Sanskritam. Second thing is, Anand, of course, I respect Mohan Bhagwat ji and his views. But my point is, even before bringing it into the curriculum, even first people should have no prejudice for the language. See, the first step of learning is to move away from disgust and hatred.
Right.
Now, there are sections of the society, of course, instigated by some of the half-baked political elements, who have sown the seeds for a language hatred, especially for Sanskritam. So, I live in the state called Karnataka, where there is a small village called near Shivamogga. It's called Shimoga famously, near that called Mattur, where not entirely, but there is a large section of the village that adheres to the Vedic curriculum and also speaks in Sanskritam on a daily basis. So, and the last point, of course, we have to listen to what Ratanji has to state. But the last point that I would like to make is, see, Sanskritam, even at a beginner level, you don't have to be a Kalidasa when you learn that language. We all speak English. But Tarur will be better at it. So my point is, Sanskritam as a language has beautifully interspersed into all the Bharatiya languages.
Yes.
See, for example, I say, ಈ ಸಭಾ ಮಂಟಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಉಪಸ್ಥಿತವಾಗಿರೋ ಭಾಗವತಾಗ್ರೇಸರಗಳಿಗೆ ನನ್ನ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು. That is Kannada. ఈ సభా మంటపములో ఉపస్థితమైన భాగవతాగ్రేసర అందరికీ మన నమస్కారములు. That becomes Telugu. Oh, see, the beauty is Sanskritam blends itself so well. Like how they've gotten a Manchurian and made it a gobi Manchurian from the Chinese, where Sanskritam has interspersed so well into Bharatiya languages. So we are speaking Sanskritam in a way, in our own languages. So my earnest appeal would be to political elements is do a better work and not concentrate on languages or on spaces where you are not proficient at all.
true. 40% of today's Tamil is also Sanskritam.
There is some.
So there is. And what you said in Kannada and Tamil, in Telugu, if you say Sabha mein upasthit sabhi jagto ko mera namaskar, that becomes Hindi. So if you understand Sanskrit, you can easily translate and you can transcend languages, especially most of the Bharatiya bhashas. Professor Mukund, before I come across to you, Ratan Shardaji, coming to you, just quick update on Sanskrit. If you look at Sanskrit in Bharat, as per the 2011 census, 3.12 million people reported that they speak Sanskrit. 24,821 people as a first language, 1.13 million as a second language, 1.96 million as a third language. In Chandigarh in 2025, the Bhasha Summer Camp, Sanskrit emerged as the most popular language picked by 46 out of 46 schools. In Madhya Pradesh, Sanskrit schools have increased from 34 in 2015 to 271 in 2025. In Rajasthan, introduction of Sanskrit takes place at the pre-primary level, that is ages 3 to 5. And of course, there are also many other schools which are actually teaching in Sanskrit even before they start teaching in the local language or even English, where Sanskrit is actually now slowly becoming the first medium of instruction. It's happening in small pockets. Should it grow? We'll see. Let's go back to Ratanji. Yes, Ratanji.
First of all, I'm surprised when I saw the panel. I said, what I'm doing here? Am I here by mistake? Because except me, everybody is scholar. So I'm just a layman. See, when important thing is when Bhagwatji talked about Sanskrit, no language should be compulsory, but every language should be learned. He had experience of RSS behind it. A Pracharak Chamu Shastri ji, who started Sanskrit Bharati. Today there are lakhs and lakhs of people, even in USA, UK and India, who have learned Sanskrit, the conversational Sanskrit, because of its easy way of teaching. So picking up Sanskrit is not very big deal. You can pick it up, but to first start that movement, and you know that it is not a classical dead language, it's a living language. So that is first step that RSS took, and it was appreciated. Everybody enthusiastically took it. And was the first person who said that Sanskrit should be the national language, Dr. Ambedkar. So people who call themselves Ambedkarites, who call themselves Bahujan Samaj. So Ambedkar ji realized that Sanskrit is the biggest integrating factor with all the languages. I will not say it is the mother of all languages, because Tamil people will get upset about it. But the way it has spread, even Sanskrit, as you rightly pointed out, 40% of Tamil is Sanskrit. And any other language you pick up it, some scholar told that if you learn Sanskrit, it is so easy to learn any Indian language, because roots are all there in language. Secondly, why education has to be looked into? Because the Guru Shishya Parampara, the respect that Guru had and the student Shishya had for the Guru, even in my and your age, now we suddenly find because of parents' behavior, because of schools' behavior, they have become servants, and students treat them so badly. How do you expect them to learn? If you lost the spirit of Guru and you lost the spirit of the students, as a student, you don't respect them, then that entire system of teaching, which came from Gurukula, because no other country actually has this kind of tradition. When Guru Vandana was started in USA by Hindu Swayamsevak Sangh, the teachers are surprised. They said, what is going on? Why are you worshipping me? Why are you respecting me? So this whole idea of respecting the person who gives you Vidya is something that is unique to Bharat, that comes from our tradition, which again we have to build in. So when Mohanji said mainstream Sanskrit, mainstream Gurukul system into the education, that's what, like Anuradha ji said, that if we have the spirit there, where you say that all this in any knowledge system, it is a laughing matter now. It's no more a laughing matter.
Right.
So as we change, things will change. And we teach the people we teach the student how to earn money, but how to live life, they've stopped telling you. So when you don't know how to live life, what do you end up? You end up trying to find a job, trying to find a government job, trying to find a job where you're getting money and you've got stable life. That has to go. There are many other ways of living life. There are people sitting in front of you who change their lifestyle, change their life, change the education. There is spark within has to be lit. If the education cannot lit the spark in me, then I'm just a zombie. I'm just an animal who has been taught something.
Right. Well, very well said. But Ratan Shardaji, and to our viewers also, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita very clearly, Bhagavan describes who's a guru. And not anybody and everybody can call themselves a guru. They have to come from a parampara. So the idea is that the parampara of the guru and the shishya is that you have to be able, and the knowledge has to be passed down from someone who has attained that status of knowledge, and then has the ability to pass on that knowledge. Not anybody and everybody can be a guru. So that's why gurukuls in the ancient times also had a certain level of prestige, saying who are you learning from and where are you learning from. That's another part. The other thing is, and Professor Mukund, you can throw more light, Sanskrit as a language which not only activates all the nerve cells in the tongue and works this muscle to the level to which that the brain is coded best. True or false? And last time when we spoke, you said you have to learn Sanskrit if you need to know what knowledge of the past is, knowledge of the ancients is. And there again I correct myself. It's not ancient. It's still there. It's perennial. It's not old. It still exists. So
and let me just
yes.
come in between for 30 seconds before Professor comes in. You know, there is a student who came back to Gujarat because he was doing a post-graduation in biotech in USA. My brother was VC of that particular university. He said, why have you come back? He said, the professor told me, you go to India first, learn Sanskrit for 1 year. If you want to do real research in Ayurveda and herbal medicine. So biotech itself is picking up things from our own scriptures. For that, you have to know Sanskrit. So that is how that student came to India.
Professor Saab.
Well, to start with, Sridhara, I have to do this.
Yes, please.
So, what does Sridhara mean? So dharana in our learning system, right? There are 3 steps normally that they talk about: Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. But the 4th thing is dharana, when something becomes you, part of you. So Shri Tattva is that energy that overcomes inertia. Right? So, Sridharji, I had to do this before I say anything else. So now, coming back to your question, I have to tell you a little incident from my school days. And Samskrita was my second language, not very good at it. But there's one section in our exam which was translation from Samskrita to Kannada, which is my mother tongue, and then Kannada to Samskrita. It was so easy to do the Kannada to Samskrita translation because all you had to do is take what was in Kannada script, put it in Devanagari, and add some aha here and there, and we would get 80% of the credit, right? That just goes to show that we already are speaking Samskrita. We already know quite a bit. We just don't know that we know. That is our problem. Right? And that actually goes back to what Sridharji said, which is that awareness. I think awareness and acceptance is probably the first step in doing anything else, right? That's one thing. Second thing is that I don't know what Samskrita does to the brain and all that. I'm not an expert in that field, but I can tell you this much, which is that, again, not my theory, is that Vishnu Sahasranama, which of course is in Samskrita, if you look at the entire Vishnu Sahasranama, if you just chant it once, just chant it properly once, they say that all the nadis in our sharira will get purified, right? And the thing is, it's not just knowing, if you chant it, understanding what those words mean, of course you get elevated benefit from that. But even if you have no idea, you don't know, you just chant it properly, that itself has a lot of benefit. This goes to show that the sounds and the chandas, that is the meter and all these things, are so very scientifically formulated that you don't have to be an expert to take advantage of that. After all, if I want to use a cell phone, I don't need to know how to design the chip inside the thing to use it. Similarly here, I think that what we should promote is starting with that. Let me just say one thing very quickly. When I started you can call it Gurukula, you can call it something else, but one of the things we used to do in that interfaith chapel is there would be a bunch of students who would come, we would discuss things. No puja, nothing, just discussion for 1 hour. But at the end, all of us would sit down and chant Vishnu Sahasranama jointly. And my children who are born and brought up in the US, every single day they chant Vishnu Sahasranama. And the question is, why do they do that? Not because I tell them, because they have found out that there's advantages from doing that. That energy will actually not only affect your physical health, mental health, spiritual health, and it even affects all the things we do every day in our lives, ordinary things that we do. And all of my shishyas, the reason they stick with me is for one thing only. They're all professionals. So they're CEOs of companies, some
Right.
cardiologists, all kinds of people are there. The reason they stick with me is because they found that there's a return on investment in understanding these things and spending some time. Without return on investment, nobody is going to do anything. So my suggestion is
Ji.
that we have to inculcate this knowledge in the teachers and the professors in schools and universities. Because after all, that was not part of my job. I just did that because I benefited personally, and my thing is, let me share it with my students. And this applies to management. One of my students, who is a very successful entrepreneur, when I asked him once, how did you succeed? He said, just by applying some of the things you taught me in this domain, And
Ji.
the thing is, we have to let people know how you can apply. That's very important, how you can apply to their daily life. So if we do that, these gurukuls in a new form,
Right.
I don't have to sit under a tree, and I don't have to grow a beard or something, right?
Right.
In the current setting, current setup, we can definitely start gurukuls, but that drive and that effort has to come from people like me in this profession, who are in the teaching research profession. If we do that, I think there's going to be complete revolution.
Right.
And we don't even have to be sitting here talking about it, because that'll become a part of life in Bharat.
Right. Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam. Now, this one, Dushyant Sridhar has done a brilliant translation and explanation of this, and it actually helped a lot of people through COVID. Right through the thick of COVID, Dushyant Sridhar would do it regularly, chanting and getting people to sit with him and read the Vishnu Sahasranamam, and to, like you said, help and heal. That's what Dushyant ji has done. So a lot of contributors in the panel today who've done some phenomenal work for bringing back Bharatiya Sabhyata and also languages and culture. Dushyant ji, your thoughts? Gurukul in a system where now that Sridhara has also been explained beautifully, your thoughts, is it possible to try and bring back what is required and marry it with the practices of the times and the trends of the times?
Okay. Very quickly, Anand, I heard everybody's views, extremely deep and adroit. Very quickly, first point, like how Sanskritam has been interspersed in the speaking Bharatiya languages. I feel Sanskritam has the ability to blend with English as well. For example, when we write a book, we should not be coaxed to translate the word Atma as soul, because Atma has a different Apnoti iti Atma. So we can retain the word Atma. So we can make it a Manipravalam language where we blend English with the non-translatable Sanskrit words. One. That can be brought immediately. See, that is something, when we have a roadmap, something should be done immediately. This is possible. One. Second thing is, when we talk about teaching Sanskritam as a language, as a bhasha, we should also have some funds, good funds, generous funds allocated for training teachers throughout the country. Because all that is happening out of their own interest now. And suppose we have to reach out to a population which is less than the age of 25, which is about 600, 700 million. Just imagine the number of teachers we require. Two. And third thing, the children should have a wow factor when they listen to Sanskrit. Just giving you a bit. The 13th century polymath Vedanta Deshika and Raghuvira Gadyam states, Kratuhara Shikhari Kantuka Vihrutyunmuka Jagadiruntu Tajitahari Danti Danta Danturonta Dashavadana Damana Kushala Dashashata Bhujamuka Dripatikula Rudhira Jara Bharita Prututara Tataka Tarpita Pitrika Bhrugupati Sugati Dihatikara Nata Paru Dhishu Parigha. This is one Churnika, like that is written 97. Wow. My point is, as students, we are all mesmerized with Betty Botter bought some butter, she sells seashells on the seashore. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck would chuck? So at that young age, if the wow factor for Sanskritam comes, with good teachers who are being trained, with our local English that we speak is blended in Sanskritam, then what will happen is reaching out to the objectives of a Gurukula system is highly possible.
Right, possible. Professor Anuradha Chaudhary, final word. I am over time, but it's an amazing conversation, so I'd like to बोलो रतन जी थोड़ा आज टॉक टाइम कम है बट प्लीज बेयर विद मी यस प्रोफेसर अनुराधा
बुला लिया विद्वान में वही बहुत है
yes
No, so it's been absolutely like I said, fascinating listening to all the other esteemed panelists. I wanted to just tie in some of the points that were made. One was that about the knowledge tradition that is there in Sanskrit. So we know that Angus Maddison in his book The Contours of World Economy, that he says from the 1st century AD, CE, all the way up to the 18th century, he says we have 32% to 24.4% of the world's GDP. Now this wealth did not happen in thin air. It was founded on very advanced knowledge traditions. The question is in what languages were these being documented? And we know for a big part of it, a big chunk. So there's anything between 4 to 30 million manuscripts that are yet to be translated. William Dalrymple in his book, The Golden Road, he says that that half, if not more, of the world suckled on Indian ideas. So he talks of the Indosphere that existed. And we know from how mathematics traveled, Fibonacci and all attribute all the mathematical understanding to the Hindu numerals, so does Al-Khwarizmi. So there's a lot that was exported from this land into countries across the world. But
Right.
the fact is right now we are not benefiting from that. And so, for example, in a very recent example, I had friends in, engineer friends in Germany who came up with a very new design of the propeller, which is very efficient. And when they put it up on the LinkedIn, a German plasma physicist told them that, if you want to understand better or find this technology again, maybe you should look at your ancient texts in Sanskrit. And which they went back and discovered a shloka which was talking exactly about that. So what was said by, I think, Mukunji earlier, who said that, there is so much back in our own tradition.
Yeah.
So coming back to this point of about the guru also, what you mentioned. So what we require right now are acharyas. Acharyas who are living the talk. They are practicing what is there in the culture. And those people, we can try and train many more of them. It's not just about coming and imparting some, knowledge for some point of the time, but really actually living the talk. So if we
Right.
can do that, then we will have a whole generation of model makers and emulators, which was the way in which the Guru Shishya Parampara worked with the Gurukula system. And to wrap
Right.
it up also with the sound systems, what Mukunji was saying, that in the Tantra tradition, they talk about the Mantra Purusha, where each of the letters is connected to your chakra system.
Yes.
So the recitation of the Sanskrit alphabet is not just an utterance of a certain language, it's a natural pranayama. There's a Buddhist tradition says that just reciting the Sanskrit alphabet improves good health.
Right.
So there's just so much happening just with the Sanskrit language. And finally, I'd like to close on this note that the mother from Pondicherry, she says that just as every child born in France speaks French, every child born in Bharat should speak Sanskrit. Because Sanskrit is a language of Bharata's soul. It has nothing, we are not in competing with Tamil or any other language. Let there be Sanskrit, let there be Tamil, let there be all the other regional languages that are supported. I'd like to end with that, but thank you very much.
Very well said. And Yajna Devam has found that the
mean, just
Indus
10
script
seconds.
also goes back to Sanskrit. That the language spoken and the Indus script is also Sanskritam. So then we have so many others who have looked at the Indus script and said the various forms of accounting happened at that time. Again, the language that was there. Bhasha was always Sanskrit. Yes, 10 seconds, sir. I have to wind up. Ratanji.
Yeah, just pithily put what is the difference between language, our language and foreign language. When somebody comes, you say, oh, I remembered you, think of the devil is there. But in Indian language, you say, आपको याद किया, आप आ गए, आप उम्र 100 साल है.
Yeah. So
That is the real difference between language and culture.
So the bhava is also expressed so beautifully with the bhasha. So that is in tandem with who we are as Bharatiya. On that
Yeah.
note, I thank you all for your time. Amazing conversation. Thank you so much, and let's hope for more such conversations, such stimulating conversations in the future. Thank you very much. Quickly changing tack, and up next, viewers, is an unfiltered conversation with a filmmaker who refuses to pull his punches. Vivek Agnihotri is on a mission to unearth Bharat's hidden files. From Kashmir to vaccines, it's now the turn of Bengal, where he says direct action day happened. Never again is his campaign. Listen. Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to another conversation here on the right stand with someone whose perspective is so clear that he's decided to not just shake, but actually literally pick and throw the hornet's nest, because he always picks up subjects that largely land on the blind spot of a lot of Bharatiya. He started with the Kashmir files and he's now moved on to the Bengal files. Delhi files का क्या हुआ वो भी मैं पूछूंगा, but सबसे पहले नमस्ते Vivek ji, thank you so much. So good to have you back with us.
Thank you, Anand. Thank you.
Multiple projects of yours, the vaccine war, Kashmir Files, amazing treatment of these stories. Both had different sets of viewers and reactions that happened. Bengal Files, you've already showcased it abroad and you've received standing ovations. And here you're being shut out. So let's start from there. How was the difference? How did it feel कि वहाँ पर standing ovation मिला और यहाँ पहुँचते ही press conference भी रोक दिया गया?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very sad commentary on the affairs. I see the film is based on Direct Action Day, which was on 16th August 1946. So for any filmmaker, the most appropriate thing is to launch your trailer on the 16th of August. And it was also a coincidence. Film got pushed. So film comes on 5th, is coming on 5th of September. Trailer generally comes about 21 days before that. So it fell so rightly. So we said, okay, let's launch it on 16th August in Calcutta. In fact, I cut short my US trip because of this. Otherwise, a lot of people were inviting us for the Independence Day weekend to showcase it there. I reached 3 o'clock in the morning, straight away flew to Calcutta, and we had all the permissions to launch it in a multiplex, big multiplex chain. Trailer obviously has to be launched. So when I reached there, I was informed at the airport that multiplex chain is saying, sorry, we cannot do it. And the reason is that top authorities don't want us to do it, otherwise there'll be political turmoil. He used the word turmoil. So I said, try another one. They tried another one, that also multiplex chain refused. So I said, okay, no problems, let's do it at ITC. It's a 5-star hotel. Let's do in the banquet hall. So that all the paperwork was done, money was given, big LED screens, much bigger than this, was installed, everything like fanfare. And 200 media people came. It was only for the media, no one else. And suddenly the hotel manager came and he said, I have been ordered to stop it. I said, on what basis? Then ultimately media hounded him, so he ran. You must have seen the video. He's running like this. He went and locked himself somewhere. So I said, okay, start the trailer. As soon as we started, one cop came and he cut the wires, and there was no reason given. And there was then a lot of unknown faces came in, which I, not allegedly, but I was told are party workers. And there was kind of a stampede. A lot of journalists got hurt, and women were getting hurt. I had to literally cover Pallavi like this and take her away. And it was a sad scenario. Okay, you shut the trailer because you have orders. But then at the same time, as a police, it's also your duty not to let the stampede happen, not the women you have to protect, maintain the order. They were not bothered. They wanted to create the chaos and anarchy. Perhaps that was their plan. I'm very sad about it, yeah. I'm literally very sad.
But why would somebody in Kolkata not want to talk about Direct Action Day?
This fails me. See, it's a very deep subject. Direct Action Day was a straightforward genocide, no dispute. What happened after the independence, communists labeled it as a riot or massacre. They also said, but Muslims also died. Yes, Muslims died. Because first 2 days, 40,000 Hindus were killed. And the vultures were all eating their flesh from the dead bodies. Then people like Gopal Mukherjee and some other people, they got everybody united. They got Sikhs and Marwadis and Yadavs together, and then they retaliated. Once they retaliated, Muslims were also killed. But that was a retaliation. Genocide happened before that. And Suhrawardi had ordered to annihilate the population because marginally Hindus were more. The planning was, if they kill so many Hindus, then Muslims will have an upper hand and Calcutta will go to Bengal. That was the war. So, but ultimately they failed in that. Now, this is a very painful history of Bengal. How much sacrifice Bengal has done. Then Noakhali genocide, Mahatma Gandhi stayed there for 7 months. Now, all these stories, don't you think that the citizens of India should know in detail?
And we saw that with Sheikh Hasina's ouster when, those who were Razakars, the Bangladeshis themselves called them Razakars because you backed a staunch enemy like Pakistan. And there were people walking around saying, I am Razakar. And this whole narrative of, Pakistan Parasti, or this entire Islamist narrative was being seen, sprouted all across, and under this entire interim government, they seem to be having a free run, these radicals, who were all given a free hand. But like you said, the genesis goes back to more than 100 years ago to this, doesn't it? So what aspect does your movie cover? Because Noakhali itself has never seen peace. Noakhali saw riots even in the 2020s. In the last 15 years, Noakhali has seen 3 riots.
Somebody told me Noakhali is cursed. Somebody told me, because the way they killed Rajendra Lal Roy Chaudhary and 400 Hindus in one house. So my thing was, if you go anywhere in the world and meet any Jew child, you will never ever find a Jew child who doesn't know about the Holocaust. You won't find a black child who doesn't know about the slavery. Even Japanese children you won't find who don't know about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Rwandan child won't. It's not impossible that he won't know about it. If you go to South Africa, impossible that they won't know about apartheid. Why is it that nobody in India knows about one of the greatest tragedies of our history? Without Direct Action Day and Noah Khali, there wouldn't have been any partition. These were the two decisive movements why the partition. A lot of people say that we fought freedom movement peacefully. Yes, we tried to. We did not actually. Non-violence we tried, but it didn't work. It was a failed policy. We got independence because of bloodbath. And the proof is, two evidences I'll give you. Pandit Nehru, he was asked by a foreign journalist in 1962 or 63 that why did you agree to partition? Don't you think as a leader you failed in that war? He said because we were so tired of the violence, communal violence, that we had no option. That was his answer, and which is true. But so it's very important that our generations know about it. We were made to shut up because Hindus were in majority. And the Western thinking which came with Pandit Nehru, or the remnants of British colonial rule, is that majority is always the oppressor and minority is always the oppressed.
Vivek, since you've done your research, the Hindu community was also serving the British Raj.
Yeah.
In the courts of the Mughals. हमारे जितने भी मंदिर और दरबार फोर्ट्स हैं उसके किवाड़ तो अंदर से खुलते हैं ना. So even today when your screening was blocked, obviously not all those people who were standing there to stop you were Muslim.
Yeah.
They were also Hindus. So is it okay to fault? People will ask you this question. It's a fair one, irrespective of how history is and what a thought process is.
So I have an explanation to that.
Yeah, ji.
See, we have been, what happened, the West and East have always been very different. The West was conquering geographical continents, and here, because we focused more on mind, body, soul, so we were conquering the continents of our mind and heart, and that's why we invented things like Ayurveda and yoga. Like Ayurveda, modern medical science is developed cutting dead bodies, and our yoga and Ayurveda is developed observing living bodies. They never cut anybody to know that. So we were internalizing everything. We were passive people. We were just sitting and researching and reading, and they were making ships and going on voyages and discovering continents, taking swords, killing people. Yes, we had kings, but overall society was more agricultural and that kind of thing. So we were never prepared when the first from Turkey, when Turkey people came and they attacked us, or Mongol people came and attacked us. We were never prepared for it. We didn't even know how to fight that. We had no art of war like China had learned, we didn't have any strategy like that. And we had lots of different kings who were fighting with each other for money, resources, land, and etc., etc. So we were divided, number one, that fragmented. I won't say divided, fragmented. Fragments also make a whole.
Yeah.
Division doesn't make a whole. So we were fragmented and we made a whole. So we were not prepared. And we came and suddenly we were ruled by a very, very aggressive community. Community which had a totally different value system. We were polytheists, they were monotheists. Okay, we believed in geographical spaces. They believed the entire earth belongs to them and they have to conquer. We said, okay, whatever I practice is fine, whether I worship or not. You are also part of my community. They said, no, if you don't follow our diktat, if you don't follow our book, then I have a right to kill you. Totally two different value systems. Okay, and I'm not judging that this is right or that's right. Two different values. So they came, attacked us in so brutally. It was such a brutal attack. I was telling somebody yesterday, Taimur Lung. Somebody asked me, why in your trailers the boy is called Taimur? Because I went for Tashkent Files to Uzbekistan, and in Taimur's Maqbara, it is written that he was offered the emperor's designation. He refused to take it. He said, I won't take it until I conquer the most powerful and the richest place. what was that? Delhi Sultan. And he came with his army, and in one night in Delhi, he killed 100,000 people, means 1 lakh people. And he plundered Haryana, Punjab, Jammu, Kashmir, Himachal, everything. He burned villages after villages. It is written over there. If you go there, read it. It is glory they have written. And then so many kafirs he killed, and he burned villages after villages, and he got all the money looted, and all his soldiers got two, three women, as gifts. So he picked up women, and that is our history. Our universities were burned. We had no option, and we had no arms. People never kept arms. Our then religious texts are also such they don't teach us to go and kill somebody. Everywhere we talk about peace, non-violence. I think that was the reason. We are a passive society, and they were very, very hyperactive society and community. And that's why we surrendered to them. And when the Britishers also came, we surrendered to them. And the evidence is, the most common address, how people address others in India, we did a research and I observed in last 10-20 years, is Malik, Bade Sahab, My Baap. Ab aoge to log khade ho jayenge yon karke. When a clerk, even a head clerk comes, somebody will stand like this. You may be a retired chief engineer or something, retired. If you go for your pension, and that young 35-year-old IS officer will come, these retired people will come, sir, please, hamare pension ka kuch kar do. We are always pleading, the girls in our country walk with drooping shoulders. And that's why, if this is not true what I am saying, then give me one reason, logical reason, why hundreds and hundreds of women will run and jump into fire. Johar.
There's a thought process which says that till this is resolved, one's objective is to conquer and convert. The other's objective is to survive and to resist. So there will always be a tussle.
Surrender and survive.
I don't think, I would disagree with you that Bharat surrendered at all points in time. Had Bharat not fought at various points in time, Bharat would not have been how it is even today.
There's a greatness.
So there are the Sohail Devs of the world. There are so many other stories which pushed back these Atatais or these invaders by at least 100-150 years, that they came back 10 times more prepared and thinking 10 times more. So there are stories of like Lachit Borphukan. Now, had Lachit Borphukan not been there, Assam would not have been what it is, how it is. But the person who invaded Lachit Borphukan on behalf of a Mughal was also a Hindu Raja. So there is a history there. So, and that's why I'm trying to ask you that how are we going to tackle that? There is a Hindu aspect, there is a Muslim aspect. But within the Hindus itself, there is an aspect of...
See, in Bengal, people who are empowering illegal immigrants are all Hindus mostly, right? Right? So that's become a culture, to surrender to authority. So people are, for survival, they are doing that. But what is the role of art in a society? What's the role of a storyteller? The storyteller has to go into orbits where nobody else goes, right?
Yeah.
And expose that orbit to people, right? Jurassic Park, Spielberg exposed us to that. क्या जरूरत है भाई जो मर गए इतने पहले डायनासोर, literally डायनासोर को क्यों निकालना? But this is a very important film because this film will make you understand what it means to be a Bharatiya, what it means to be an Indian, and what are our rights. The right to life is our right.
So is there a Ma Bharati perspective in this movie?
Of course, yes, Ma Bharati. See, I like talking to you, that's why I'll tell you something very interesting. We fight on idea of India.
Ji.
Okay. I think our biggest mistake we made after partition, that we introduced an idea of India which was never and which can never be an idea of India. That secular thought and devoid of any emotional belonging or any emotional figures to whom we latch on to, which it's like you were cut off from your umbilical cord and said, okay, now you have no roots, we are a new Western style, constitutional, secular country, now live on your own. Fine, then we should have created the infrastructure and everything, and the constitution is followed, laws are followed. We feel so good going to a police station. Yes, police is our friend, but worked out differently. So it happened in Calcutta. I was sitting, and I'll show you this. I am sure you must have seen. So Abhindranath Tagore had made this painting of Ma Bharati in 1905.
1905.
He was the first who humanized a nation. Okay. And he started the renaissance of Bengal School of Art, and he brought in Swadeshi values in this. So if you can see, there is industry cloth and there is spirituality, and this is our knowledge center,
Vedas,
and
the scripts,
food. And she's young, Ma Bharati is young. This is the first time. Whatever we say Bharat Mata Ki Jai is because of this single painting.
On that note, we call it a wrap of this edition of The Right Stand, coming to you live from the CNN News 18 Primetime Studios, brought to you by Schneider Electric Smart Home Solutions. Thank you for watching. Namaste.
Dear shareholders, I am happy to share with you the details of yet another stellar year of business and financial performance achieved despite multiple challenges. In the financial year 25, Reliance delivered a record consolidated revenue of 10.71 lakh crores, becoming India's first ever company to cross $125 billion in annual revenues. Reliance's EBITDA stood at 1,83,422 crores and net profit grew to 81,309 crores. Reliance's exports were at 2,83,719 crores, contributing to 7.6% of India's total merchandise exports. Reliance invested cumulatively rupees 5.6 lakh crores in the last 3 years. Reliance remains the single largest contributor to the national exchequer, contributing rupees 2,10,269 crores in the financial year 25. In the last 6 years, Reliance's contribution to the national exchequer crossed rupees 10 lakh crores. I am also proud to report that Reliance's CSR spending in the financial year 25 rose to 2,156 crores. Reliance's cumulative CSR expenditure over the last 3 years crossed rupees 5,000 crores. This is a clear reflection of our unwavering commitment to social impact. Friends, employment generation for India's talented youth is a national priority. It is also a priority for Reliance. Globally, the dynamics of employments are undergoing a shift towards flexibility, driven mainly by AI and automation. Reliance has also adopted modern engagement formats that combine opportunities for upskilling, entrepreneurial drive, job satisfaction, and higher earning potential. Today, our conventional and non-conventional workforce has grown to nearly 6.8 lakh people. I see this growing to more than 10 lakh people over the next few years. It gives me immense satisfaction to say that we continue to be amongst the most admired employers and rank among the largest job creators in India. Reliance continues to lead across every key growth parameter: revenues, profitability, exports, market value, investments, contribution to the exchequer, and social impact. I am confident that Reliance will continue to break its own records in business performance next year and beyond. Dear friends, let me begin by sharing with you the impressive performance of our digital business. Just a week from now, Jio will enter its 10th year of service to the nation. Looking back, these years have been the most glorious in India's digital history. Today, I'm proud to share with you that the Jio family has crossed 500 million customers. The 500 million milestone is a symbol of your unwavering trust and support. I offer my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you. I have heard people say, Jio changed my life, and I love Jio. But I say from my heart, actually, each and every Indian built Jio by simply making it a part of their lives. Let me present a short video of our Jio journey, how 500 million Indians made Jio. All of you made Jio.
आइए दोस्तों, देश के अलग अलग हिस्सों में चलते हैं और भारत ने जियो कैसे बनाया उन किस्सों को सुनते हैं। ये है मुंबई के टीचर अभिषेक साठे जो हर रोज कमाल कर रहे हैं।
बच्चा पार्टी अपना अपना कैमरा ऑन करो। किसी को पीछे छूटने नहीं दिया जब हर एक बच्चे को पढ़ाया। जियो मैंने बनाया।
ऐसे कर्मठ टीचर्स की वजह से भारत का आने वाला कल कभी पीछे नहीं छूटा। जी हाँ देवी जी,
हमारी बहू रानी ने ना का कहा था यूपी
माझे यूपीआई जब मैंने यूपीआई से बिजनेस चलाया तब जियो मैंने बनाया।
वाह कितने गर्व की बात। इनकी तरह आज 5 करोड़ छोटे बड़े दुकानदार यूपीआई का इस्तेमाल करके अपना बिजनेस फैला रहे हैं। आइए देखते हैं यहाँ क्या चल रहा है।
जब के ड्रामा को गांव में ट्रेन कराया तब जियो मैंने बनाया।
आज देश के 50 करोड़ लोग मनोरंजन का मजा फूंक फूंक के नहीं बल्कि दिल खोल के उठा रहे हैं।
हम सब बेस पर सही सलामत लौट आए हैं।
ये तेरा बेटा।
बॉर्डर ऑपरेशन के बाद जब पापा को भरोसा दिलाया तब जियो मैंने बनाया।
अब मिलते हैं उस माँ से जिसकी ममता का सफर बस अभी अभी शुरू हुआ है।
मदरहुड की जिम्मेदारी के साथ साथ ऑफिस भी निभाया। जियो मैंने बनाया।
जहां देश की लाखों महिलाएं अपने ऑफिस से रिमोटली जुड़ी, वहीं कोविड के मुश्किल दौर में लाखों जानें भी बची।
जब वीडियो कॉल्स के थ्रू मैंने अपने पेशेंट्स तक इलाज पहुंचाया तब जियो मैंने बनाया।
जब से मन ने इस फोन को अपना घना यार बनाया तब से जियो मन ने बनाया। तू मन ने यो बता, यो हॉर्टिकल्चर से उपज कैसे बढ़ सके?
सही जानकारी के साथ यारी करने का लाभ आज दूर दराज के गांव के 10 करोड़ किसान उठा रहे हैं।
देसी कारीगरी को दुनिया तक पहुंचाया जियो मैंने बनाया।
करोड़ों व्यापारी अपने ऑर्डर्स का ग्राफ बढ़ा रहे हैं और मेक इन इंडिया का झंडा लहरा रहे हैं। जब भारत की जनता ने हर छक्के हर चौके को जश्न की तरह मनाया तब जियो मैंने
बनाया।
सही तो कह रहे हैं। जियो को 50 करोड़ देशवासियों ने मिलकर बनाया और हम सबको डिजिटल इंडिया के नए युग में पहुंचाया। और ये तो नए डिजिटल इंडिया की बस शुरुआत है।
Friends, Jio was conceived at a time when India's road to digital transformation was blocked. Prohibitive data prices, poor connectivity, and even poorer speeds had stifled the digital aspirations of India.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Dear shareholders, I am happy to share with you the details of yet another stellar year of business and financial performance achieved despite multiple challenges. In the financial year 25, Reliance delivered a record consolidated revenue of 10.71 lakh crores, becoming India's first ever company to cross $125 billion in annual revenues. Reliance's EBITDA stood
CNN News 18 Primetime Studio, presented by Schneider Electric Smart Home Solutions.
Good evening, you're watching Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. We're coming to you live from the CNN News 18 Primetime Studio, brought to you by Schneider Electric Smart Home Solutions. Prime Minister Modi is in Tokyo right now. He will be headed to Tianjin in China tomorrow for the SCO summit. There he will meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping. This is the first time that Prime Minister Modi is traveling to China in 7 years. And remember, India and China have had a very fractious relationship over the last 5 years, starting from the Galwan clashes in 2020. And thereafter, on Monday, on the sidelines of the SCO summit, the Prime Minister will also meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. So now you have an interesting